we couldn't get Build Back Better. Manchin said, we can't do it. After all, if we give money to those people, my people in West Virginia, they're going to take the time off and go hunting. They're going to go, and those mothers that are sitting back there in the streets, they're going to go buy drugs. That's what Joe Manchin said, right? Didn't want to give any kind of compensation to his constituents, the poorest people in the darn country. And he couldn't help them. He couldn't help educate them. But you know what Congress has no problems doing? Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Because if this doesn't make your blood crawl and show you the deficit in the morality of many of our politicians, nothing will. Check this out.
All right, you need them in everything, your phones, your cars, you name it. But right now, a global computer chip shortage is driving up prices and limiting the supply of everything from iPhones to new cars. To help combat that, a bipartisan piece of legislation, you heard that right, called the Chips for America Act is waiting to be passed by the House. The bill would invest tens of billions of dollars into U.S. manufacturing of computer chips over the next 5 to 10 years. There's a lot of urgency around this from both parties. So we're joined by folks from both parties, Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey and Republican Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska. Gentlemen, good to have you on this morning. Josh, if I could begin with you. 37% the U.S. had 37% of world semiconductor production a number of years ago. Now it's down to 12%. Taiwan and China still dominate production. If these bills pass, there's one in the House and the Senate. How quickly does that change?
I mean, this bill would be a game changer. You just pointed out the biggest problem here is that we used to have dominance in the United States over these chips, which are critical to everything from ventilators to cars to refrigerators. We need to increase our domestic manufacturing. If COVID taught us anything, it's how important it is to improve and increase what we do here at home. This would make a significant investment with helping encourage domestic production and research and development, which is what's needed. As Don, I'll tell you, this is an area where we completely agree. The Problem Solvers Caucus, which we're both in, are fully behind. It's now out of the Senate, waiting in the House for action. We got to get this done. There's no reason we can't. It came out overwhelmingly bipartisan in the Senate. Now it's time for us to act and get moving here.
Yeah, one of those areas where the parties are in agreement. Congressman Bacon, how much of this is based on fears of China's threat to Taiwan, the possibility of invasion there, and then immediately, you lose a big portion of the world that we depend on for these chips?
Hey, Jim, that's a very good point. Taiwan is under threat right now from China. We rely quite a bit on Taiwan for our semiconductors, and we can't be dependent on overseas for such a big part of our economy. We just see it with our automobiles, as Josh already mentioned. Without those semiconductors, people are waiting 7, 8, 9 months to get a new car right now.
Yep.
And so, but you're right. Taiwan is vulnerable. We get a lot of our semiconductors from Taiwan, and that's a huge issue.
Yeah, I mean, cars basically now, they're like computers with 4 wheels, right? I mean, everything's dependent on chips.
Exactly.
Whatever happened to the market is intelligent? Let the market decide. The market is smart. The market, whenever we talk about money and trying to tax or try to give regulations, the first thing they said is, no, let the market decide. The market is smart. Why don't we let the market decide that if you want to be able to not have problems during supply chain issues, that you manufacture your damn products in the United States of America, that you employ Americans, that instead of making a whole bunch of money for a whole bunch of big fat cats by eliminating jobs here and paying slave labor overseas and then re-importing the product, that somehow it's better for the plutocrats. But of course, we suffer on all ends. But what do you want to do now? Now that they've moved all their factories overseas, now that they're bringing the semiconductors from overseas, and we have a pandemic that has proven to stall the supply chain because of the private sector, not because of anything the government has done, not because of anything we the people have done. You've stalled the supply chain. And who do you want to fix it? Who comes to your rescue? We the people. You want to pass a bill to give billions of dollars to the private sector, to encourage them to manufacture here in the States. And guess what? After that investment, who makes the profit again? The damn plutocrats. Once again, They take our money in all forms possible with all types of excuses. And you know what we can't get? Build back better. What about educating those kids so that they'll grow up to be engineers and scientists to manufacture those chips the way that Taiwan does it, the way that China does it, the way that Germany does it, the way that Brazil does it? Why don't we educate our kids to do that? Oh, we won't do that, right? We make the market decide. Well, I've spoken about so often, there ain't no darn market. It's a mythical market. The market was created to abstract, to make you believe that there's some ordinance some world ordinance, some divine ordinance that we must follow in an economic system. People, we have been snowed for decades. We have been snowed for decades and decades and decades, and we have to learn and stop. You see how easy it was for bipartisanship to give money to corporations. You see how easy that little chat was? Now think about how difficult the chat was for Build Back Better. You remember how easy the chat was for the hardware infrastructure. You know why? Because they built roads, and guess who get rich from roads? The big fat cats who make cement, steel, and all these other items. Guess who gets all that cash? But when it talks about helping humanity, helping the students, helping the mothers and fathers of America, we can't find it. Joe Manchin, who is supposed to be a Democrat, says they're going to spend their money buying drugs. They're going to spend their money going hunting. So it's not only the other that they're marginalizing now, it's their own. Remember what I've told you guys over and over and over again. When you have done sucked it all from the other, the next person they're coming is for you. Don't you ever forget it. It's time for us to do the right thing, elect the right people. And by the way, before I'm running a little long on this particular video, but I want to warn us of something very important. They want you to be disappointed in the Biden administration. They want you to be disappointed that a whole lot of stuff is not getting done. Of course, it's not getting done because the plutocracy has their boot against the neck of many politicians. That's why it's not happening. But they want you to be depressed because in 2022, they want to make sure that you don't elect progressives who are going to make a change. Don't fall for it. You go vote in those primaries. You go elect progressives, and you make sure to vote in 2022 and keep more progressives in Congress and keep more progressives elsewhere. It is imperative. It is your survival. It is existential. Remember. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.